Hello, good afternoon, fabulous embracers, beautiful people. It is me, Dr. Sylvia Gonsimboli, your integrative bariatrician. That means body, mind, spirit bariatrician, here for our second episode of the Embrace You Hot Topic and Weight Loss show. And I am super happy to have you back here again. We had a fabulous time during the first one 2 weeks ago. Do y'all remember what we talked about? Who we talked about? And if you do, put it in the chat. But as you're coming in, please let me know where you're checking in from. I know here at at BDO, we have people from all over the world. So let me know where you're checking in from. I am here in rainy Washington, D.C. area today. It is raining, but we'll call them showers of blessings. We have showers of blessings today, and so I'm super excited about that and feeling good today. How are y'all feeling? Give me a thumbs up if you're feeling good today. How are you feeling? So, yeah, I'm feeling good. I have my little beret on because it's Black History Month. It's Howie Newton, the founder of the Black Panther Party. It's his birth anniversary today, if you didn't know that little tidbit. So, we are celebrating all around today. So, anyhow, as I wait for you guys to come back in, keep chatting, letting me know where you're coming in from. If anyone's here in the DC metro area, like I am too, I'll just tell you a little bit about the Embrace You show that we're going to have today and what we'll be talking about. So first and foremost, I want to let you know, oh, hey, Tawanda, coming in from New Bern, North Carolina. Awesome. I love North Carolina. So I want to just let you know a little bit about myself. So, like I said, I'm an integrative bariatrician specializing in transformative body, mind, spirit, weight loss through personalized metabolic tools and total wellness. And I really get this subject, not because I learned it in med school. Yeah, I got all the degrees and stuff like that, but also because I personally went on my own weight loss turned wellness gain journey. I lost 60 pounds. I gained 60 pounds when I was pregnant and held on to about 40 of it for about 2 years because of what I now know my main weight gain triggers are, which are stress, sleep deprivation, people pleasing, perfectionism, and with a side of cheap pizza and lots of sugar. So I really understand that this thing we call weight loss is not as easy as calories in versus calories out. It really has to be personalized and it has to take your whole life into account. So I was honored that blackdoctor.org asked me to host this show because what this place is not a place for me to lecture you. I'm real book smart, y'all, and I love facts and I love knowledge like I do. I wrote a whole book, right? Because I love it so much. But what I want this Embrace You show to be, and what I hope it will become for you, is a safe space where you can ask your questions, where you can share parts of your journey. I'm going to be really real and I'm going to share my journey. So is it okay if we have a safe space where you can come and ask, well, I heard this and I'm not sure if that's true or not, because we, especially as Black people, especially as Black women, need a safe space where you can ask these questions about weight, where you can ask these questions about health as it relates to weight. And it's because there's so much misinformation out there. So if you're cool with Embrace You being that place where you can come and feel safe and ask your questions and your concerns, give me a thumbs up because I'm going to be putting myself out there. I hope that I'm not alone and you're here with me. So, and thank you so much, Joanne Red, from checking in from Portsmouth, Virginia. And yes, I know where that is because I practiced in Richmond for a while. So today, y'all, I'm going to be talking about our hot topic today comes from Sunday. And I don't know where you were in Sunday. Thank you, Joan. So I don't know where you were Sunday, but if you were with me, did you watch the Rihanna concert? You know, the one she had at some football game. No shade, no shade. Okay, so if you football fans out there, don't come for me. So if you watch the Super Bowl halftime show, you saw Miss Riri, Queen Riri, descend from the heavens down to the audience and do her show. Hey, Alicia. So you saw her come and do her performance. So I was so excited because we have not seen her perform in a long time. Now, how I like to watch shows when I watch them, I'll be honest, I don't know if you watch them like me, but I like to do watch them with the side of Black Twitter. So I'll be on Black Twitter, like seeing what they're saying, see the tea. Hey, Chicago. So I was watching, and so I was like expecting people to comment on her fabulous red coat, that little court bustier thing she had on, but the first thing somebody should commented on, put in the chat if you know what somebody commented on. First and foremost, you put what was the first thing that people noticed and asked about. Anybody in the chat when they saw Rihanna? She came down. She gave us a little sneak peek with her coat. So I'll give you a hint. The title of this show today. Yes, baby bump, right? Alicia, that was the first thing they said. I'm like, she didn't even get to speak first. Yes, was she pregnant? Exactly. She didn't even get to speak first. And sing first. And so people are like, well, fortunately now we all know that yes, she is pregnant. Okay. And congratulations, sis. Rihanna, we're super happy for you, expecting your second child in less than a year. She just gave birth in May of last year. So we'll talk a little bit about that and when you can get pregnant afterwards. But what I was thinking was like, what if she wasn't pregnant? I mean, I feel like, especially having gone through a weight loss, a postpartum struggle with weight loss, this pressure to have a bounce back is so real. Type in the comment if you had a pressure. Oh, see, look, my guy was like, she need to lose that weight because she danced a lot. Yes, exactly. There is so much pressure on women like to lose weight as soon as you have that baby. And is this bounce back culture, does it even make sense? Medically, does it make sense? Mentally, does it make sense spiritually? So today, that's what we're going to be talking about. Feel free in the chat. Like I said, let's be real. This is a space where we're going to keep it real, where we can talk about things. Yeah, I got show notes. I have all these things I want to talk to you about, but I really want this show to cater towards the information that you need, what you heard, what you think you know, what you think you don't know. Because honestly, y'all, let me drop a little bit about the statistics, right? When it comes to Black women and postpartum weight gain and pregnancy weight gain, and then postpartum weight loss. So by and large, we will usually go into pregnancy already being overweight or having the disease of obesity. So I am a bariatrician. That means my specialty is the science of body fat, the science of metabolism, and I do it from a very integrative, so meaning I look at the whole person, not just the physical and the medical, but also the mental and the spiritual as well. So I already know the statistics say that 4 out of 5 Black women are overweight if we use the body mass index. Now we're going to do a whole nother show. That's my jump off. Like I talk a lot about how body mass index is biased, right, for us, but let's just take it for what it is right now. And so what it will say is that we will go in overweight, and then during pregnancy, because there's some biological things that cause us to gain more weight, we'll hold on to that weight throughout the pregnancy, and we'll gain more than other races and then hold on to the weight afterwards. So on average, it's about 20 pounds more. So is the body mass index for us not? Okay, Alicia, let's go there. I'm glad you brought that up, sis. Is it for us or is it not? So we'll start there, and then we'll go into it. So every time we do a show, y'all, I'm going to try to follow through and talk about it from a body, mind, spirit perspective. So we'll start with the body. And today, again, we're talking about pregnancy weight gain, postpartum weight gain. Put your questions in the chat. I'm going to throw out some myths, right? Because some of these myths hold us back. So first of all, me and the BMI are not friends. Yes, Tawada. Okay, I love it. So we're already going there. And if you go over to my page, my my website, I've written a lot about this in my blog. So about the bias, Black women and the BMI, obesity in Black women, what are we missing? So you're actually very right. So the body mass index, which if people don't know what that is, that's one of the oldest screening tools that we use to assess if you may be at risk for fat related diseases. So for having extra body fat and related diseases. So and it's actually starts, do y'all know when it actually started, like what year it started from and who it started in? Like, just put a guess in the chat, because y'all are saying BMI is not my friend and body mass index is for us. No. So let's talk history a little bit, because it's important. So there's a little bit of delay, so I'll tell you while you type in. It actually started in 1832, back in Belgium, with a white anthropologist who, all he noticed was that as they grew, their weight changed in proportion to their height in meters squared. Okay, and he thought this was an interesting calculation. He left it. He went on to glory, and it was just hanging out there. So fast forward to the 1900s, here in the United States, there were these things called insurance life tables, where basically the insurance companies would decide how they were going to cover insurance for people based on where they fell on these life tables. Now, they used weight, which is a very complicated discussion, right? My girl, she's not really my girl, but she's my friend in my head. Dr. Sabrina Strings, who's a sociologist, wrote an interesting book called Fearing the Black Body, and talks about just the history of how we got to the BMI and how then became in, right? And the racist origins of that. And some of this plays into where we kind of get BMI. And it's important. People get uncomfortable when you talk about it, but it's important, right? Because especially as we're making medical determinations for people, we need to know the roots of it. So models are a full figure at size 12. I know, Alicia, you're so right. So it's all of these things that the norm, the average woman is about a size 12. So anyhow, so Ansel Keys, he introduces this body mass index. I trip off on facts. And so then by the 19 and then sets up the guidelines for it, just kind of arbitrarily based. By 1985, it's adopted by National Institutes of Health and also adopted by the World Health Organization. Now, one key thing is remembering that a lot of the data that we had when we set up these normal values were missing who? Who was missing in the normal values? Right. Us, we were missing. So Black people in general, men, women, Hispanic, other minorities were missing. And so what we have found is that actually the BMI doesn't account, because it only looks at total body weight and it doesn't look at your body exactly to want it. It doesn't look at your body composition. So meaning how much muscle you have versus how much fat. Because really, when we talk about the disease of obesity or your risk for metabolic disease, we're worried, do you have too much extra body fat, right? And so if you don't have if the BMI isn't able to tell us that, then it's just kind of an estimate of now what you might be at risk for. So what we found is that it has some bias based on your age, based on your biological sex. So women, men, high estrogen, high testosterone, depending on those states, based on if you have any other health conditions that are related to body fat, so diabetes, hypertension, all of that. And then of course, based on your race. So are you Asian? Are you Black? Are you not Hispanic, non-Hispanic? And so the good thing is that even though there's not a lot of research being done on it, there is research being done where they have adjusted the body mass index chart. based on these factors. So I have some of them on my website. Thank you so much for putting it up there. So you can check it out on the blog post. And then also in the chapter 2 of my book, like Your Healthy Weight, I go into it. But we shouldn't just stop at the body mass index, right? That is why it's so important to individualize every person. And we'll talk about this all throughout the Embrace You show. Everybody has their own unique, happy, healthy weight. Okay. It's my show. I can say what I want. It's my show. Okay. Too much, too much. Tone it down. Public. Okay. So, but everybody has their own unique, happy, healthy weight. And so while these big charts may give us an estimate of where we need to start screening you, it's up to us as the clinician, the doctor, the bariatrician to figure out at you, sis, you, Tawanda, you, Alicia, you, what is your unique healthy weight. Now, healthy weight, that's clinical facts. That's us. Like, that's just data, right? Like, this is looking at, okay, what percentage body fat do you have? Where is that body fat? Because we know that where the body fat is matters more. And this is another reason why, even though maybe statistically Black women may carry more weight and may carry more fat, when we do a deeper dive into the data, we know that that slight heaviness does not correlate with disease risk at the same rate that it would as a non-Black person. Okay. And we know that because when we look at it and we see that, and we look at it and we see that you have, you see where the weight is distributed, where the fat is distributed. If it's in your, where do you guys know that, like, dangerous fat, I'm gonna just call it dangerous fat, where dangerous fat is distributed, where they were kind of concerned with poor Riri, like, where is dangerous fat usually found on the body? Type in the chat if you know. And oh, thank you so much. Clarissa says, I love this. Tawana gave me some smiley faces, yay. And then Ursuline says, I love that name. That's interesting. All right. Ursuline says, my healthy weight is 150. All right. We'll talk a little bit about that, because healthy weight is not just one set. I want to know, how did you figure that out? First and foremost, that's probably the first question to ask, and feel free to chat. So in the belly, exactly, Alicia. So we're talking about dangerous fat. Yes, in the stomach. So medical term for that would be visceral fat. I usually have my fat model somewhere here. Let me pull it out. All right. So yeah, so visceral fat. So this fat, it will be in the belly. And, this is a 5-pound fat model. And so having this much fat in the belly is going to be correlated with heart disease, with insulin resistance, risk of diabetes, and things like that. But carrying this fat, what we have found in where we like to see it, right? That brick house shape in the hips, in the buttocks, is not as harmful and is not as harmful and does not put you at risk for these diseases. So really, the other thing when we're looking at healthy weight, just to summarize it, is having that specific adjusted body mass index, just to use as a screening tool that you may be at risk, but then looking at where the fat is. So is it in the abdomen? And then one way you can check is using a waist circumference. So looking at the waist circumference, and what that is just putting a tape measure around your belly button, around the hips, and then that will tell you if you're at risk for it. Okay, so, and then the last thing is, do you actually have any metabolic diseases? Do you have diabetes? Do you have hypertension? All of that. So this is important, because as we're going to know kind of what your healthy weight is, as you're going into pregnancy, if you're already starting overweight or starting with carrying extra body fat, the goal is to not gain as much. Now, I will tell y'all, sometimes that's easier said than done, right? Because as I always talk about, and we'll talk about on this show, is that there are things you can control and things you can't control. And I call them weight gain triggers, like things that are triggering your body and telling your body to gain more fat. So what do you think are some uncontrollable weight gain triggers when it comes to pregnancy? Type them in the chat. Maybe stuff that you saw. Like, am I the only one? Like I told you, if you joined in late, I was sharing that I gained 60 pounds during pregnancy, and I've been pregnant twice. So, for my first child is that was a decade ago, and then I had a 4-year old, and each pregnancy, they were very different pregnancies. I gained 60 pounds. And, the first one, I'll admit, I was living wild. I was eating for two. I was tired. I was overworking. I share my pregnancy journey in a few places. Like I was a workaholic. I was putting everybody's needs above mine and just pushing myself. I ended up getting preeclampsia. So that was a very different pregnancy. So I had no clue about my weight gain triggers. It took me about 3 years to learn them, which I say are stress, sleep deprivation, people pleasing, perfectionism, and yes, and that put me at risk for it. And so I kept that about 40 pounds on for 2 years. So yeah, so I see Alicia has listed some here. So family predisposition, toxemia. So that would be having some sort of, she's talking about if you get an infection during pregnancy, stress. Exactly. Now, stress, some of it is controllable, some of it isn't controllable, because we were talking about controllable weight gain triggers versus uncontrollable. But definitely it's important to know. So I just told you what mine were, and some of it was uncontrollable. So the second pregnancy, I knew my weight gain triggers, and I lived a really active, healthy lifestyle, but I still had that main uncontrollable factor that Alicia said, which is family predisposition. The women in my family tend to gain a lot of weight when they're pregnant, and that's just something that I can't control. So my main thing when it comes to this body thing and this whole bounce back culture is that we need to be aware of what are the triggers we can control and the ones we can't control. So going into the pregnancy, it's really okay. It may be my family risk factor to gain this much weight, but what can I control? Now let's talk about cravings, right? And thinking about what you can't, like what you should eat or what you want to eat, because that is a big thing that trips people up. And a lot of times, if you don't get a handle of the cravings, then when you're done with the pregnancy and you're breastfeeding, which is another time that because all those hormones in your body are triggering you to still keep holding on to fat, you're still going to be super hungry and you want those things. It's so important to pay attention to, okay, how am I satisfying these cravings, right? It may sound good, it may look good, but how are we satisfying these cravings during the pregnancy? And what are you really craving? So I talk a lot about the body, mind, spirit connection. And pregnancy is one of those times where, yeah, you're nourishing the baby and you're giving them love, but you also want to be loved too. And so, one of the things I want to encourage you when we talk about the mind and the spirit connection with like postpartum weight and everything is what, so how are you nourishing yourself during the pregnancy? And unfortunately, statistically, when we look at the studies, Black women have a lot of stress going into pregnancy and then even after the pregnancy, in terms of having those support structures, whether that be financial, whether that be emotional. So it's so important to see, how am I nourishing myself? How am I taking care of myself during the pregnancy as well? And then after the pregnancy too, because I will tell you from a personal perspective, like I used to hate asking for help. Am I the only one? Like, are y'all good about asking for help? Like, that was so hard because it's like, if it's gonna get done, I gotta be the one. Like, I'm gonna do it. God helps those who helps themselves. Like, and I would do it. So am I the only person who was like that? And so going into pregnancy, like drop in the chat. Y'all don't leave me hanging out here. Like, are y'all good about asking for help, or have you learned how to ask for help? Share it in the chat, because like that was a journey for me, and that has actually been a game changer on my weight loss journey, because even to be able to get the time to be able to go work out, to get the time to cook the foods that I need, like you have to be able to ask for help and to create that community around you, which is another big spiritual a big spiritual principle. So Tawanda said, I am not 0% good about asking for help. I know, sis. Thank you for being honest. Not really. And this is something, I mean, we see a lot, because I think we have been taught like that whole strong Black woman role, that whole strong, and yesterday I did a talk on Clubhouse with the men, so the men deal with this too, right? They just may not even talk to anybody about it. At least we're talking about it here, but the men deal with it too, like that we have to be strong, we have to be the one, we have to be the one working everything out. And I will tell you, that mindset, like that mentality is heavy. It's heavy. And people may think like, oh, when it comes to, when we talk about the mental part of weight gain or weight gain triggers or weight loss, that it's just like something, I don't know. People think like mental health stuff is like just floating in the atmosphere. I don't know what they think. But I want to tell you, it's all related to the same hormones and the same pathway that is going to cause you to gain weight. That same cortisol, insulin resistant stress pathway. And especially when we're in a state where our body wants to hold on to fat, like postpartum, it's going to make it really hard to do this quote unquote bounce back that people are putting on you. So thanks, Alicia. I see Alicia shared here. So I worked out every day, swam, rode my bike, and still gained 60 pounds. I ate a lot of salt and peppers. I had to have them. I had toxemia, extremely high blood pressure. I had flat nipples, so major problems breastfeeding, and I didn't ask for help because I was trying to do it right and was so discouraged because nothing worked for me. My son was born 4 weeks early. Oh my gosh, sis. Thank you so much for sharing that, because whew, I hear you. Very similar. I had the preeclampsia. I had my son was born 3 weeks early, and 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 it's so tough. So I think if people get nothing from hearing our stories and especially when you're putting that extra pressure on yourself to bounce back, snap back, snatch back, like realize that even if you're doing that boot camp, even if you're like starving yourself in the name of losing weight, like if you don't address the stress factor of it, which is a huge and heavy part, that it is going to be very hard to lose weight. So maybe in the last few minutes we got about 30 minutes left. You type your questions in here. Is there anything burning? Did I say 30 minutes? I meant like 3 minutes. I want it to be 30 minutes, 3 minutes. The producer, let me know if we can do like 5 extra minutes. I will do that. But please type your burning questions in here. We'll do rapid fire really quick. If there's something you really want to know, something I didn't address in this postpartum weight loss, but I'm going to close it out by just giving you the top 3 tips just to kind of summarize what we talked about it. So first and foremost, every Embrace You show, I'm always going to do a mindset shift, right? Because as the wise women of In Vogue say, free your mind and the rest will follow. And when it comes to this whole pregnancy weight gain, postpartum weight loss, all of that, this bounce back culture, it starts with the mindset. Like, what are we going to do to free our mind, right? So the mindset that I go back to is the one that I shared in the preface of the book when I shared my own pregnancy journey and postpartum weight loss, how I lost it. The first thing is to release perfectionism. Release perfectionism, because all this not wanting to ask for help, all this feeling like I got to be the one if it's going to get it done. God helps those who help. Like nobody said that. That's not even. So releasing that perfectionism and embracing your progress. Embrace your progress. Celebrate those little wins. Got up today, got on clothes, kept this little baby alive. That is a huge win. That is enough. If the only movement that you do is just like one small thing that you decided to walk up the stairs instead of taking the elevator, that is a win. If instead of just lying down and binge watching music videos, you decided to put the baby in the stroller and go for a walk around the block, that is a win. So release perfectionism, embrace your progress, and these small wins over time, they really do add up. for me, when I was going through my postpartum weight loss journey, I had to let go of this trying to do it how I did it before, right? Like calorie counting, rigorous work. I didn't have time for that. Working 14 hours a day, having a high needs 2-year old. Like I didn't have time for that. So what I could do was a 10-minute little rock and body workout. Shout out to Shanti. Love you. Call me. So, like that is what I could do. And then eating, like switching out the foods and substitutes. So I really want to encourage you to do that. All right. So Alicia says, and then we're going to wrap up here. I understand BMI has a place. As mentioned, belly fat is dangerous fat. So my cousin is heavy. However, she has a small waist and teach Zumba class. And the doctor says she is healthy and has no issues. So, again, this is why it needs to be individualized to the person. I can't comment on everything that she says specifically for her, but I know for me, again, when I'm assessing healthy weight, I'm not just looking at the absolute number. I'm looking at, again, where is the body fat located? What percentage of body fat is in the body? Looking at their numbers, so their labs and their and like the cholesterol, their blood sugar, their inflammation levels, all of these things, looking at that and seeing, okay, is this a healthy person or not? And sometimes, yes, there is such a thing they call metabolic healthy obesity, and it's very controversial in our field of obesity. But there are some people who they are outside of the normal range of BMI, but they are by all indications healthy and they're living a healthy lifestyle. So the other thing with individualizing this thing is it really, even if even if you're under what we call obesity, but you are, even if you're under it, but you're still not living an active lifestyle, you're still not controlling your stress, you're still not eating those superfoods that help you. Like, are you really healthy, even though you technically you're in the normal range for a BMI? So that is what we mean when we talk about individualizing health and looking at it from a body, mind, spirits perspective. All righty, y'all. Happy Friday to you, Angie Day. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Alicia. I'm so happy that this has been helpful for you. So let's wrap it up really quick. I want everyone to write in the chat who has been following with me. What is your number one takeaway? Because like I said, this is your space. I'm here for you. Like, this is called Embrace You, not Dr. Sylvia's golden hour to show you how much I know. I want you, every time we do this, to leave with one pearl that you can take away. So we have been talking today about the bounce back culture, and is it whack or not, right? Like, is it whack or is it not? So first of all, y'all tell me, is the bounce back realistic? Like, realistic that you're going to snap back? Took you 9 months to build this baby. So based on everything we talked about today, is it realistic to think like even in a year that you're going to just snap back? Like, first of all, we are not rubber bands. We are not balls, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, our skin may have a last taste in it, but we're not. So it's going to take time, okay? And part of why it's going to take time is because the fat that you developed during pregnancy was very necessary, and your body still thinks that it needs that fat to support yourself breastfeeding and if you're having another baby. Secondly, from a mental health perspective as well, it takes time for you to adjust, and keeping that stress level down is essential because it ties into your health as well. And then last but not least, from a spiritual perspective, we are made for community. We're made for community. In ancient times, don't even get me started, like, we lived in community. And now a lot of us are trying to do this heavy work, right? Of parenting, of motherhood, of womanhood. We're trying to do it alone. But spaces like this, having community and asking for help is so important. So I want to leave you with those points. And last but not least, if you enjoyed what we talked about today, I encourage you to go head on over to my website and connect with me. I have a free clarity quiz, and that will help you really find out what are your weight gain triggers, what are the things that you need, the tools that you can use to get your body, mind, spirit perspective, your body, mind, spirit, metabolic tools, and mindset breakthroughs. I'm Dr. Sylvia Boley. I'm an integrative body bariatrician, body, mind, spirit wellness coach, and I am the founder of Embrace You Weight and Wellness and the best-selling author of the #1 Healthline weight loss book, Embrace You, Your Guide to Transforming Weight Loss Misconceptions. This has been another fabulous and interactive episode of Embrace You, Hot Topics in Weight Loss. Shout out to Riri. Congratulations, Queen, on your baby. Y'all stop telling women to bounce back, and we will be back in 2 weeks. I can't wait to see you then. Feel free to DM me any suggestions that you want to talk about. Bye, y'all. Thank